Alright, you bastards, this is Some-Belgian-prepper, and today I'm going to start my 10 item challenge. And what do I mean by that? I always say in my videos that you have to do more with less, and that's why I wanted to do a challenge, and that is the 10 survival item challenge. As you can see, these are the items that I've picked carefully for their multifunctional purposes, and I'm going to on a bug out exercise with only these 10 items. So what are these items? First of all, this is my ultra, you saw my video about my ultra light bug out bag. Well, this will be the ultra light bug out bag. So first item, of course, for water, I'm going to use a live straw with an attachable plastic bag for squeeze water through it, so I can filter it, so I don't only have to suck it out. So that's the first thing. Water is one of the most important things that you have. So clean water is one of the first priorities. Second, I would say fire. I got here my small light fire starter that I recently bought and going to test out for the first time now. It did well in the first test, so I'm going to see how this will hold up in the field. Multi-tool, of course. Multi-tool. I have several multi-tools, and usually I would opt more for my survival Glock knife, but it seems that I'm going on a bug out exercise. It's going to be dangerous if I encounter some police or some individuals who see a knife and call the police. So that's why the reason, for legal reasons, I'm going to use my Swiss Army knife for this reason. A flashlight that runs on how do you say this, on a crank system. So, and it's a very sturdy light. It's not the biggest light, but it's very reliable, and that's what I'm going after. This the only food source I'm going to take with me is an open bag already of oatmeal, and yeah, the thing is I'm going to try to find food sources on during my bug out exercise and challenge. And of course water, a German metal canteen with a cooking pot on top of it. It's actually two things in one, but yeah, it's a part of the same thing. So that's why I'm always talking about get something multifunctional. And a rain poncho to make shelter and to stay dry. How do you say this? The shemak. This is like I said in the video, about 50 survival uses of the shemak. I would say a recommended video. You can do a lot of things with this, and of course the gloves, because if I'm going to do all sorts of tasks outside, I don't want to get my hands hurt and infected. And the last item, because these were nine items that I called, I'm going to use my great kilt. I will count this as a separate survival item, because you can. I made a whole video about this, about all the things you can do with this, and I'm going to test them out in the field. I would say watch that video about the uses of a survival kilt. And yeah, I would say let's get started with the 10 survival item challenge. I would say, but I want to stress out, if you're going to do a challenge like this, I would say look at what your own abilities are. Look if your skills and your knowledge is good enough to try this out in the field, that you do not get how do you say this, hypothermia, you don't get lost, you don't dehydrate. So don't underestimate everything, because even the best hikers make mistakes that cost their lives, and yeah, it's happened faster than one would think. So I'm going to do a lot of editing now, because yeah, this will take a lot of little clips. All right, first thing, navigation. If you now don't have a compass like me, you have to navigate on the things that you will find in the nature. So in this case, I know the sun is over there, so it's around somewhere afternoon, so it will probably in the south. So I know this, right there is south, there is north, and I have to go to the east to my bug out this location. So that's a handy way. So in this 10 survival item challenge to navigate around. So if you probably can see, here's that deer from roadkill, and to be honest, roadkill could be a potential food source as long as it's freshly killed, to say. So yeah, I know it will sound a little bit morbid, but if the deer is killed within a few hours to half a day, perhaps, then it has no time that the flesh will be rotten or insect and parasites would have been infested with it already. So I would say take a look for signs for rotten or for parasites or for insects, and if you take meat from it when it's still fresh, cook it very thoroughly. I mean very thoroughly, so there is no chance parasites, insects and diseases could be into the meat, and process it very carefully. I know it's not the best option, but during a bug out it's an option. Alright, so I've just done collecting water from these green spots. How do you call this? Water, but yeah, it's a place where there's a lot of grass. But the problem is, I've been like you can see here, I've been seeing a lot of water, but those water that is usually from agricultural places, so there could be a lot of fertilizer inside of this water that my filters cannot filter. So I have to go to certain grass spots that I know that have not been fertilized or have not been tainted by manure from cattle. So it took me, to be honest, a lot of time to gather this much water in the bag, in this plastic bag, and the reason why is I've started doing this exercise very late, and yeah, because of that the most dew has been vaporized already. So I had to look to places that are in the shadow or have a lot of grass in them, that there is still some grass left with some water or dew left inside of them. So yeah, that's a place that you have to look for safe drinking water, even if you have a water filter. And yeah, that's a good tip. And to be honest, the best time to gather dew is actually during the night or during the morning, when the dew is starting to collect. And yeah, that's the chance that you need to fill up your water supply. And yeah, so like you can see, this is something that some people left behind from woodworks, and I've gathered some wood in my shamak that I hang on my belt. As you can see, I've gathered some sticks and branches. And why? Because yeah, you never know when where you're gonna stop and make some fuel, need some fuel to make a campfire, to boil water or cook some food. So yeah, it's about, you take advantage of the opportunities that present themselves. Yeah, it's going to be, yeah, it must. So yeah, you got to take advantages of the opportunities to gather resources whenever you can. Take water whenever you have the chance to take water. Take some branches or twigs whenever you find the right one, because these were totally dried out. So these are perfect to make a good small campfire to boil some water or cook some food. So yeah, and I've gathered them, like I said before, in the shamak that is hanging on my belt. So that's another use for the shamak. Hip hip hooray! So, you see this plastic bottle. Yeah, if you need some extra water containers, if you do know where you will find the next water source, it's important to always have enough water. You can never have too much water. So I would advise to take these water bottles, these empty, that is actually in basic trash, and fill them up with some dirty water, and you can filter it out later or boil it whenever you make a campfire later on. Because I'm now more in the countryside, and water sources are actually kind of rare in a way. because you do not know where to find them, or they are on private property. And like you can see, these trenches along the fields are usually full of water that is gathered from the fields, but those are usually poisoned with chemicals from the fertilizers. So yeah, these are things that you need to think about when you do this. So there are a lot of acorns around here, so if you look for some good ones that are not infested with some how do you say this, with certain insects that lay their eggs inside of this, you can gather some acorns, put them in your shamak bag, and that way you can have some extra calories, fats, proteins, all that good stuff. And yeah, as you can see, the ground is full of them, but to be honest, even if the ground is full, you need to find good ones, because a lot of them are have some fungus, some insects in them, or are just totally empty or rotten. So yeah, it's a little bit of a search, but it's a good source of food during a bug out. So another food source are nuts from the birds, for a birch tree. But there is something that you need to watch out with these kind of nuts. They contain calories, and some fats and proteins, but you have to be very careful because they also contain cyanide. Yeah, the cyanide, like the poison. And yeah, it's not a big problem if you eat a few of them, but if you eat them in large quantities, you can get some effects from the cyanide. So you always have to roast them before you're going to eat them. So you vaporize the cyanide out of the birch nuts. So yeah, that's something that you need to watch out for. So a textbook example of a water source in a forest. As you can see, this is from a tree. It has a hollow part in it, and this water is gathered around here. You still need to filter it in the best case, but if you have no filter around, what you also can do is make a fire, take some stones, make the stone hot, and then put the stone into the fire till this kind of water has boiled and it's killed all the bacteria and pathogens inside of it. It's a little trick, but yeah, it's not what we're going to do today, but it's something to think about if you are in a survival situation and you do not have one survival item that can help you. So a few points with this. I'm going to eat something very fast, so that's the reason why I preferred oatmeal, because oatmeal is something simple. You have to just mix it with water, and then you can, as you can see, mix it with some water, and you can eat something very fast, and it will only take like not even a minute to make. The thing is, as part of the 10 item survival challenge, I did not have a spoon with me or a spork. So what did I do? I just took my Swiss Army knife. I took one of the branches that I gathered as firewood, and I made, as you can probably see, I made an improvised spoon. So yeah, that's a way to improvise, and I'm going to eat now this oatmeal that I made. It's a little bit cold, it's a little bit bland, but it will give me energy, and yeah, I can still reuse the spoon later on, or use it as firewood, so it will not go to waste. So I'm going to take a little break. And another thing I want to say is, if you're going to make a spoon, make one side at least straight. Why? Because if I'm going to take every last piece of oatmeal, so there is no waste, so I can get every part of energy, I can scoop it very clean. So yeah, that's it. So while I'm eating my meal, there is another point I want to make, and that is I've found some tinder in the forum, because it's been raining the last couple of weeks, so finding some dry grass is very hard. And to be honest, because of laws, I cannot just cut up any tree to find tinder under the bark. The mushrooms are still too wet for finding some tinder, so I've got lucky, and under a barn roof I found some dry grass and hay from last harvest, and I gathered it, and so now I have some very good and dry tinder that I'm going to try to use, not during the day but actually during the night, because yet again, because of laws, I cannot just go out in the open and make a fire, because somebody will call the fire department or the police and it will be some hassle. So I'm going to do it during the night, when there is less chance to be seen actually, and that's when I'm going to attempt to make a fire. Right, so instead of taking some iron wire, so for to build a shelter or to hang your kettle onto the fire, well, some of these poles, if you can see, have some electrical wire or barbed wire on top of them that is actually cut and forgotten. So yeah, you can take those and reuse those for having a, how do you say this, having some materials to build shelter or to help you with cooking on a fire. So we got ourselves some vitamin C with these pine and trees and these spores. So yeah, if you pick the needles and boil them, you can make a tea, and those are loaded with vitamin C. So yeah, the vitamin C is very essential as a nutrient. So yeah, during bug out, watch out for these kind of trees, and you can also find some nuts between the pine cones, I think it's the name, and yeah, those. And if you find a pine tree and you cut open the bark, under the bark there's a layer that contains calories. So yeah, that is a source of calories and food source if you can find any other ways to get calories. So this might be strange, but we've got some bamboo around here by somebody who made it. So we got, if you are desperate, we got cordage, we got bamboo, but with the bamboo, these segments are hollow, and they are divided in several between each segment of the bamboo. So what you can do is you can cut this right here, fill this up with water, and hold it above a fire to boil it, and that way you can get fresh water if you do not have something, a container like a kettle or a pot to boil water in. So this is something very perfect for this, and it's even big. So yeah, that's just a small thing, but you will rarely find something like this in places like Belgium. So I've been walking a very long time, and for some strange reason in this part I have not found many stinging nettles. So we've got some stinging nettles. If you boil those, you can get some vitamin C, and yeah, that's and also some fibers if you boil the leaves so that the needles are gone. And another thing you can do with this, like I said, it's been hard to find some nettles, so I've been looking around for long nettles so I can make some rope myself. I made a video about how to make rope from stinging nettles, but these are not long enough to do those things. But if you got long nettles, you can make rope, and with that rope you can make a shelter. You can build a shelter from various materials from nature. So I hope to find some long nettles during my bug out exercise here and the 10 survival items challenge. So yeah, fingers crossed, I would say. So if I was in a survival situation, this would be a very good thing to make some shelter out of it. As you can see, these are very, very big. So if you would turn them around, a few around them, you can make a decent shelter above your head with it, like to protect you against rain or snow. And with some materials, leaf branches, and your rain poncho, you can make a good shelter out of it. Just a small thing. It's just like I said before. If the opportunity presents them, take it during any survival situation. I will not do it now because yeah, the farmers will not be happy when I'm touching their gear. So. Like I said before, if you know the time, if you know where the sun is, you can calculate where the direction is of north, east, west and south. So if you can see, over there is a church tower. You cannot see it through the video, but I can see it around 24:04. So yeah, it's much past noon, so the sun is over there, going to the south. So east must be over. So east must be over there. So yeah, that's another trick or hint to know the direction of the yeah, north, east and south. So another thing that I want to talk about is when you're on a long bug out exercise and you walk in these vast fields and forests, and yeah, when there's not a lot of people, it does something with you, in my opinion, and it's something that can be notable for a bug out.
scenario, and that is the silence will make you more alert. Whenever you're just in the city or whatever with your music in your ears and just not paying attention because you go to your busy daily life, when you're on bug out, it's silence. You have a destination, but there is no hurry to get there. You just let everything take in. You hear everything. I notice every bird, I notice every rabbit, I notice every sound out of the ordinary, and that mindset makes you more alert, and it can help you spot danger or prey or spot something useful like edible plants more in nature, because you're in that moment of silence, you're looking for stimulation, and you do that by being alert, be on the lookout for something useful or a natural resource. So yeah, that's something that I wanted to make a notice of during this exercise and challenge. So it is right now night, and as you probably can see, it's very dark around here. That's why I take my flashlight that I can crank whenever I want, and I'm wearing my, how do you say this, my rain poncho, because it's raining on and off. It's not that big of rain that I could not have done it with my how do you say this, great kilt, but yeah, those things could happen. And yeah, and also another thing is the, how do you say this, I lost my train of thought because I've been walking a very long time, and it's yeah, that's another big thing that is something to be discussed with doing in these long bug out exercises, and that is, it can be boring for some people. Yeah, you, not everything between the daylight and now was just walking, resting, taking a sip of water, having a little bit of oatmeal, and yeah, rinse and repeat. So yeah, I use the flashlight also because yeah, otherwise you could not see me, otherwise it would be black, just like this. And perhaps you can see, yeah, it's not that clear, but the thing is, yeah, these kind of exercises for some people can be boring and a little bit monotonous, or how do you say this? And yeah, it's something to take part in. You could sleep at night. There was a forest nearby where I could have been sleeping just with my great kilt, my woolen sweater, and the outer layer with my rain poncho to stay warm and dry at the same time, and just have an hour nap, quick power naps at the time. So yeah, that's a way to sleep and shelter, and that is kind of the hobo tactic, which means if somebody noticed me in those forests, then I could just get up and walk or run away in case of danger. And yeah, that's I know it's not the most efficient way to sleep in a way, but it's during a bug out, you never know. You always have to be ready to be on the move to run away when some bad things could happen. So yeah, I hope this will help you some with this video. I will reach a bug out. Yeah, it's not really a bug out location, but it's more a stop between because I'm going back and to my house, and there is an abandoned building I can sleep in. I'm almost there, so we'll see if we get there. And I have not had a chance to make some fire yet because people are all around, and either way there is some people that could call the police, or the thing is there will be or it's on a private property, which is both illegal to do. So yeah, that's the update till this point. So there is another point I want to make, and that is the reason why I can walk in the night during this bug out exercise because the clouds are very dark. I have no moon nor stars to navigate on, and without a compass, I have no direction right now. The reason why I'm able to find my way is because I've done this bug out route already. So a few times actually, so I know the way very good. Even in the dark I can find my way. And that's another point I want to make. If you're going to have a bug out location, try to find it. Try to find alternative routes. Try to do the route multiple times so you know your way without having to rely on navigation skills like that. And yeah, that's a point that I wanted to make. So keep practicing your bug out routes, and not only think, I will find it on the map for the first time. No, you will not find it. You will get lost. You will lose a lot of time. You will use more water, food than you perhaps have. And yeah, that's a little point that I wanted to make. There is one more point that I want to make during this nightly take, and that is, yeah, whenever you hear something strange during walking, it might be your gear, because constantly it's like I hear something like I'm being followed, and when I stand still, I realize that it's the my gear that is making a little bit sound. And especially when you're how to say this, when you have a rain poncho on, it can make a really really obnoxious noise. So you do not know where it comes from. So that's something that you need to take some points off. Yes, yes, yes. Oh no. So I have tried to make some fire and it failed. It failed 8 times, and yeah, at the 8th time it started to rain even harder. So yeah, probably will edit the fails of those fires. inside the video because I like to keep giving information about survival honest as possible. I will not only show the clip about about the wins. There is also fails, and this time the fail was in 8 times trying to make a fire, and yeah, then it started to rain. So if you, I don't know if you can already see. Oh wait, because it's a small light to see. It's a small light to see, but I have here I'm inside of a small building that is abandoned, and it's something that I used before, and yeah, I know nobody has been here because my setting from the last time I stayed here is still there. So what I'm going to do is, I hope you can see this. This is the setup that I make. I'm going to use my backpack as a headrest. I'm wrapped in my great kilt, as you probably can see. I hope so, because this is a very small light. I can see it, but the camera does not see it. I'm glad that it's not really that cold, so I don't have to take my kilt off and wrap it into a sleeping bag. But yeah, I'm sitting also on my rain poncho, as you can see, to insulate me from the ground. So I'm going to take. So I hope you can see this. I'm going to take a nap and sleep till I'm ready to go home in the morning. And yeah, it is just a part of bugging out. And yeah, like I said, it could sometimes be a little bit boring. It's not like in the movies where everything is always exciting and there are fighting gangs and always hunting. There are some boring parts, but that's part of survival, and that's something that you as a person need to how do you say this, need to adapt for. So I'm going to take a night shot, and yeah, probably the thing is, when I get home in the morning, I will try to make a fire, and then at least I will have fulfilled the 10 item challenge for survival. If I can make a fire with the spark starter that I have, it will probably be more handier in the daylight, because I wanted to do it at night because I could not do it in public because of laws and private property and such. So yeah, I'm going to give it a rest for the day. So I got back home. Nothing really happened between waking up and getting here. It was just the same thing. I did not even find stinging nettles to make rope out of, so that was kind of a bummer. But yeah, this was the 10. This was the 10 day exercise, and yeah, what did we learn about it? Yeah, I'll take this a little bit off first. I look a little bit like a hobbit from the movies. So what did we learn about it? We learned how to navigate. We learned how to get water from dew in the and best at as early as possible, because then there is dew, and that was a mistake I made. So I had to find specific places, or had to find shadow places to rub my shamak and wring it out into my bladder. So yeah, that was one thing that we learned. Do it as early as possible, and another thing is there are food sources as long as you look for them. So we had water, we had food, in a way, for energy and nutrients, like certain plants and the pine trees. What did I use yet again? The flashlight was very handy, although you probably could not have seen much on the video because it will not register it. The thing is, it did not look like it, but it was very clear. There were, to be honest, the night was kind of light. I could see, even if it was cloudy, I could still see everything in a minimal way, and I knew the ways because I have done this route before. So if I did not know the route, it would have been more difficult to navigate into the dark.
So first of all, the I would have used the flashlight with the crank even more. That's one thing. What did we do more? Um, the gloves I almost did not use because I only used them really to make carve that spoon to eat out of the branch. So the and I would have liked to use the gloves for stinging nettles, but if it was more cold, I would have used it probably as gloves to keep my hands warm. The oatmeal gave me enough energy. Actually, yeah, it was no problem. I even have so much of the package left, so I did not eat that much actually. So that was no problem. The water filter were great for filtering some of the dew water that I gathered. Although I did not really need it because, like the weather was really good because it was not too cold, not too warm, so I did not use too much water. In the summertime, this would have been a totally different story because then yeah, I would use a lot more water and yeah, I would have collected more, need to collect more. So those plastic bottles I found on the way could have been handy for that purpose. Uh, the canteen was worked really good for storing water, and in case I needed to boil it, I could have used the canteen and the health side of the canteen to gather how do you say this, the not the porridge, the oatmeal inside of it, and eating out of it. I used that. The shamak was really handy as a carrying bag for some wood. I still even have some wood left, so and the spoon is still inside of it, and perhaps some nuts. And yeah, this was also very handy, and also for collecting dew in yeah, for collecting dew. So that was also handy. The rain poncho was very handy when it started to rain in the middle of the night. So on and on. So that was also handy. I used it to sleep on inside of the embedding building. So that was also very handy, and can also be used to collect rainwater and as a platform when I try to make fire on. So yeah, that's another thing. And there was still one problem left, and that is making of the fire. I started out with this plastic thing, and it kind of broke off, but it's still functional. So that's something that I wanted to address. Making fire in the middle of the night was very difficult. In fact, I failed like 8 times inside of it. And yeah, I'm going to not leave the 10 survival item challenge and getting away with that. I'm going to make fire right now, even if it's going to take me all day. The multi-tool was very handy because I could use it to make fire. I used it to carve up spoon. I used it to collect to open some nuts. So yeah, a multi-tool is very important, whether it's one of those Leathermans or a Swiss Army knives. So I have some unfinished business. If it works, I will be the Lord of Fire and of the 10 survival gear challenges. So in the next video, you will see me succeed in making fire.
Ah, yes! I made fire! Lucky hell. It really hurt my eyes. So, I finally made a fire. So, I've succeeded in the 10 days survival gear from this point. So, I would say thank you for watching and see you in the next video. Cheers!